Hello, I'm John BT. Welcome to Cask to Glass, the whisky podcast where we examine the heritage and flavour of Scotland's national drink and the world's favourite spirit. Now, in this episode, I catch up with Sean Williams, an advocate for Welsh whisky. He has his own podcast. Sean, thank you very much for talking to us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show, and it's nice to be here. It's weird to be always on the other side because I'm normally sitting when you are doing the interviewing. So I've done a few interviews with people, but it's still a novelty to be on the opposite side of this.
Well, I'm like you. I've spent my life interviewing people. It's much better being the interviewer, isn't it, than being interviewed?
I think so. I think I prefer it when the roles are reversed, to be honest.
The only Welsh I learnt was from a great Welsh rugby player called Graham Price. I remember him telling me the only Welsh he knew was dim parcio, which I think is no parking. Is that right?
It is. I don't think you have to be a fluent Welsh speaker to probably guess that one either. But that's probably a good one to know though if you're ever travelling in Wales and avoiding getting tickets.
We always ask everyone, how do you take your whiskey?
I like it always, to be honest. I tend to, if I'm in the house, relaxing of an evening, just have a dram as it is. But no, I like highball, I like a cocktail. I do, if I'm having a bourbon and it's particularly hot, I will put ice in a bourbon as well, or have an old fashioned or something like that. So if it tastes good, then I am an equal opportunist. I don't very rarely put water in unless it's a particularly kind of harsh cast strength whiskey and it just needs a bit, a couple of drops with a pipette just to sort of open it up a bit and take a bit of the kind of harsher alcohol away from it. But other than that, no, I kind of tend to neato in a cocktail or a highball.
Sean, how did you get involved in Welsh whisky? We'll talk about the festival and we'll talk about other things, but how did you get involved to start with?
So I've been kind of advocating for Welsh whisky for about sort of 4 or 5 years now. It's something that I grew up not far from Penderyn in the South Wales valleys. I've got a lot of family in that kind of part of South Wales, like Hyrwine and the Brecon Beacons and places like that. And I've always been, aware. I've always said to people, that are into whiskey, they should try some Welsh whiskey. And I think during COVID, obviously, there's quite a kind of a big move towards people trying new whiskies. And I was one of them, and I kind of thought it was a real shame that no one was advocating for this part of the world, and a lot of people just knew it as Penderyn, and they didn't really know that we have 7 distilleries in Wales and a few in the pipeline, and I kind of wanted to delve a bit more into that, and then an idea came along for a book, and then part of that was the podcast that I do on Welsh whisky, and it all kind of grew organically from there into getting to know some fantastic people within the industry and to really kind of immerse myself in it. And now, I'm very lucky. I have a great relationship with most of the whisky distilleries in Wales, and I really try and advocate for them and Welsh whisky as a sector. So yeah, that's the short story long.
Well, tell the world then. As you know, from most podcasts, people are watching from all over the world. Tell the world of Welsh whisky is what?
So it's a new world of whiskey. It's a part technically of the world whiskey category, which is something that I've kind of spoken about. Which I think this world whiskey category is far too big now. There's distilleries in all parts of the world. In pretty much every country. So. Wales, it would be nice to have it as a category on itself. It's 7 working distilleries and then about 9 altogether that are running because Penderyn have 3 and then there are a few in the pipeline as well. It's a new industry in Wales, but it has the longer established players have been around for around 15-20 years. Penderyn, 21 years they've been running, and really, before even there was a world whiskey category, Penderyn was kind of selling Welsh whiskey. But yeah, there's not a style. I wouldn't say, we don't have your kind of like your Scotch industry. We don't have your Islands or your Lowland style or your Highland style or your Speyside style. I would say they're all very unique. They are predominantly unpeated whiskey. It's normally unpeated. The maturation and the finishes can vary. We do a lot of wine finishes, I would say, in Wales, maybe more than others. Madeira finishes, red wine, Tokai, sherry finishes. There are some bourbon as well, but it's varied. It's very varied, and I would say if you've tried a Welsh whiskey, they're not 7 of the same type. So it is a very varied, and not one kind of is like the other as well. And as I found that out over the years, visiting all these distilleries, they've all got a story to tell, and from the still to the people, they're completely different throughout Wales.
You've been good enough to send me 3 samples, and I've got one here which says it's a Madina, Falls Madina. Is that how I say it?
Madeira. It's a Madeira cask finish. Sorry, it's probably my terrible scribbling. Yes.
There's no I.
No.
Falls Madeira.
Madeira. So it's quite unusual, I would say, in terms of it's not unusual. How can I say this? So Penderyn famously.
You said as a Welshman, you shouldn't say it's not unusual.
It's not unusual, yeah. Bit of Tom Jones reference there. It's not unusual as a Madeira cask finish in Wales because Penderyn are synonymous. That was their original finish. This is something different. This is quite a new release from Aberfoils, and they're going for more wine finishes. I think it's quite a nice dram. It's a very accessible dram, and the price point is quite low as well. Comes in, I think, about £30 retail. Non-age statement, and it kind of. I think it's for a young whiskey. You tell me. I think it's quite a nice, well-rounded whiskey. You can tell it's young, but there's still a bit of depth there.
It's very pleasant, isn't it? It's not, unlike the Scotch whiskies, which can be, if you're into a peaty one, it gives you that bang. This is very pleasant, very calming, it's almost a bit of honey in it, I think. I don't know.
I will do the same. I haven't got all 3 samples that I sent you because some of it was my last, but I will do the same and have a dram with you. It's a much better time than we originally planned, so I will definitely have a dram. Lots of raisins, lots of dried fruit, but I think it's really nice, and it's different from the Penderyn Madeira, very different from the Penderyn Madeira. So if anyone, most of the major supermarkets now, they stock Aberfoils, they stock Penderyn in different quantities. I would try them side by side, to see what people think, because it's a very different expression. But it's a new distillery. It's a Halewood distillery, big company Halewood, but it's only been around for really sort of 5-6 years. But yeah, they're moving slowly in the right direction. I think it's that for me is their best core release to date. Their bourbon, I think, is okay. Again, very accessible price point, but it falls short of the mark as a single malt for me. More of it's a mixing whiskey, where this I quite happily sip of an evening. It's a light, like I say, it's not very, it's quite approachable, not very harsh, and it's just a nice kind of sipping whiskey.
Where's the market for Welsh whiskey now at the moment? You said some of the supermarkets have it. Are you targeting India, China, the US? Where are the markets?
So I would say the craft distilleries is very much the UK market. A lot of business is done in Wales, a little bit in England, and some of it does make it north of the border sometimes. But for Aberfoils, I think they have ambitions of international, but they're not quite there yet. Penderyn definitely very much an international brand. I mean, they've got a huge presence in Asia at the minute. They're doing really well in Asia. They're very well received and have been for years in France, in Germany, and the Italians quite like it as well. And they also, there's a new market that's opened up for them, which is in the Ukraine, believe it or not. So one of their team went over there on like a goodwill mission last year, was very well received, and got a lot of goodwill with the Ukrainians, and now they're buying Penderyn hand over fist. They love the stuff, and they're giving it in kind of gift boxes to relatives and friends and families. And it's who knew that was a market for them to be in, but they are, and they're doing incredibly well. So it's diverse. I think internationally, definitely Penderyn has got the foothold, but it's growing. It is growing.
That's a very happy, sad story, isn't it? That Penderyn is selling into Ukraine. Because, I mean, here you and I talking about whiskey when we know that country is being bombarded. I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is. I think there's always been, since, I won't get too political, and obviously we're talking about whiskey, but since the war started and things like that, the Welsh people, I think as a whole, have been very patriotic with the Ukrainians. We're a small country in Wales of 3 million people. We've always, as the Scots have as well, we've always been kind of a bit bullied and a bit invaded by our neighbour. We won't say who they are, but we all know who they are. And I think the Welsh people have kind of, they understand, there's that kind of sympathetic, that kind of understanding of what it's like to be bullied as a smaller nation, and I think they feel for them, and it's nice. It's nice to see, and it's whiskey, but it creates bonds, as you know. It creates bonds around the world, and it's nice to see that a little part of Wales is maybe cheering people up in not so nice times over in Ukraine.
We'll get back to that episode in a second, but the best free way you can support the podcast is just hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe so you get new episodes every week. It also helps lots more people find the podcast, so thank you. Yeah, and to expand on that, you're talking about the similarities between us and you, the Welsh and the Scots, in that we have, we have our own languages, and we have our own culture, we have our own backgrounds, we have our own special things. We have our own songs, we have our own traditions. And the Welsh, having got friendly with quite a few Welsh rugby guys back in the day, the Welsh have an extraordinary pride. I'll never forget, we're diverting here, but I'll never forget playing rugby in New Zealand with lots of Welsh guys. And one of the Welsh guys said, as we're about to go on the pitch, the lights are coming on in the valleys. As in, it meant that we might think we're here in New Zealand playing rugby, but there are all these people in Wales were turning on the lights in the valleys to listen to the radios, to listen to the commentary. And boys I played with would speak Welsh. They had pride in being Welsh. And I'm wondering, is whiskey to some extent playing into that here's a market, here's something that you might want to get into big time, and because there is something unique about being Welsh, you can imprint that into Welsh whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, we're both Celtic nations. We're the kind of forgotten about Celtic nations. Yeah. Everyone thinks Scotland an island, but we're home of the Celts at the end of the day. And distilling can allegedly trace its roots to Wales, to North Wales, to a little place called Bardsey Island, where the monks, in myth, distilled a distillate which was pretty much aqua vitae or new make spirit from the bragdy, which is the beer there. And there's lots of myths, the Mabinogi tell tales of witches and potions and distilling and things like that. So it's been in our culture for a long time. It's just with the kind of drinking habits of the Welsh changing over the years, it never really took off. There was a distillery, there was Frongoch Distillery back in the late 1800s, and it closed down in the early 1900s, and the temperance movement was very big in Wales as well. So we're kind of catching up, I suppose, and it might have been different. If a few little things would have changed, we might have had this long history of distilling. It's just not quite got there until obviously the late 90s, until Penderyn released their first whiskey in 100 years at that point. So I think it does. I think the Welsh are always open to other Welsh businesses as well, and they support Welsh businesses, which is really nice. And like you said, the cultural aspect is there. We're proud. We're a proud nation, and especially for the craft distilleries, it's an extension of normally a food business or of another hospitality business within Wales, and they're proud. They want people to come to the area. They want to tell the stories of their area and of the Welsh people. So I think it will, yes, and I think it does.
Beautiful part of the world. I've never seen enough of Wales. Let's go on to you mentioned Penderyn a lot. Let's go on to the Penderyn and help me and the audience through this one.
So this is quite a nice story. This is to celebrate the kind of history of Swansea. Now, Swansea in the south was known as Copperopolis at one point, was responsible for 90% of the world's copper. They said the sky, it glowed green with all of the smelting, when it was at its heyday. And this bottle kind of celebrates it. Penderyn have got distillery now in Swansea that they've opened. So it's not from Swansea, it's from the Brecon site, but it's a celebration of that. And it's a red wine cask, predominantly in sweet red wine cask. So it's something a bit different. I find anyone that tries Penderyn, there's a difference. There's like their what's the word? The kind of spirit. They say the purity of the spirit comes through. It's a very uniquely Penderyn spirit. Whichever you taste will taste a bit of Penderyn, and it's because of the still type. It's a Faraday still, which is a column still, not a pot still, and it gives you a very strong ABV spirit, but a very clean spirit. It's not oily, so it's very light. So after it's matured for a few years in wood, it's still a very light spirit compared to like the oily Scotch spirits. And I think it plays really well with the wine casks. It always, for me, their Portwood's fantastic, their Madeira's really good, and this is really nice. This sweet red wine. I think it's a Hungarian Tokai in the mix, which has been kind of slowly coming over into the whiskey market in the UK, and it's something different. I'm quite a fan, to be honest. It's one of my more preferred icons that they've released.
Yeah, this is, as you say, not oily at all, is it? It's very, very, very light, very pure.
It's very clean spirit anyway, traditionally, Penderyn, and I think that it's got a warmth to it. It's hard to explain, and unless you've had Penderyn before, then you'll know what I mean. It's very different, and it's very different from the rest of Welsh whiskey production as well, which is done in a variety of stills, but is very different from Penderyn. That Faraday still always creates something very different from the rest of the whiskey world, and it's a nice one to experiment. The Icons ranges, for anyone who doesn't know too much about Penderyn, every kind of 6 months a year they bring out a sort of limited bottling to celebrate a part of Welsh culture, Welsh history. They've done a rugby one called That Try. They've done one with the Mabinogi called the Rhiannon. They've done one with Bryn Terfel. So it's always something different, and it's nice because if you're looking for something different from them, you can always you wait about 6 months a year, and you always got something new and interesting. And then once they're gone, obviously. So they're quite collectible as well in those kind of circles.
I'm just wondering, in Scotland, when we think people abroad look at us, they think of golf, tartan, whiskey. Wales, I guess, is music, language. And are you hoping whiskey gets on that list, that the Welsh being, if you like, wants to embrace whiskey? I mean, I don't know how many Welsh people, do most Welsh men and women think, I'll have a whiskey at night time? That's part of being Welsh now.
I think it's not, realistically. It's we're a nation of beer drinkers. Historically, I think now modern day taste in alcohol are very varied: wine, beer, spirits, bit of everything. Yeah. But we're open to new ideas as a country, and I think Mr. Stephen Davis, the CEO of Penderyn, he always sort of says the same thing. He'd like Wales to have the same kind of as you would Jameson's, or as in Ireland, as you would, a well-known Scottish single malt, a Glenfiddich or something like that. He'd like people to come to Wales, and if they are whiskey drinkers, go, I'll have a Penderyn, or I'll have a Welsh whiskey, and actually realise that is a thing, and that we are, they can do that, whereas other countries can't necessarily say that, or it's a burgeoning market. He always says he'd like people to come and specifically, obviously, have a Penderyn, but it'd just be nice if people would come and, if they're a whiskey drinker, say, I'll have a Welsh whiskey. And with the, I don't know if you want to speak about it, but obviously with the GI protection for Welsh whiskey, it is kind of internationally recognised now and protected as such as well.
Yeah. Well, you talk about it. What do you think?
No, I think it's a good thing. So I've done quite a lot of research into the Scottish GI, and then what they want to do with the English GI for whiskey. And anyone at home, GI is a geographical indicator. So things like Welsh lamb, Welsh beef, it has to be a certain standard. It has to, things like cheddar from Somerset, say, or, there's lots of things around the UK, Scotland included. There's lots that has this. I mean, Scotch whiskey, Scotch single malt whiskey has its own GI, very stringent GI on what can or cannot be called Scotch whiskey. And I think the way they did it with Welsh whiskey is great, because they couldn't say, it has to be in a copper still, it has to be in oak barrels specifically, which is one of those things where the Scotch industry, I think, now has relaxed it a bit, but it used to have to be oak barrels. They couldn't use, say, chestnut or mahogany or all these other kind of weird and wonderful casks that are coming through the market. I don't think it restricts in any way Welsh whiskey. All it says is it must be distilled in Wales, it must be bottled in Wales, and it must be like the production must be in Wales. It doesn't specify anything, like it has to be a certain grain type or it has to be a certain wood. It's just the fact that they want to make sure the distillery, the bottling, everything, the maturing process is done in Wales and on the same site or as close to the same site as possible, which I think is great, because people know what they're getting then. They're not buying a bottle of Welsh whiskey and doubting the provenance. Is it Welsh whiskey? Is it from somewhere else? And I think that's a good thing. Whereas what they kind of do with other GIs now, sometimes they can restrict industry. I think if anything, it's just shined a spotlight on the industry, protected it, but actually, giving it another feather in its cap.
I love telling the amazing story of Scotland's whisky industry and sharing some positivity about one of the incredible things this country has given the world. Now, if you want to share some positivity too, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening to the podcast. It takes you 10 seconds and will help Cask to Glass reach a much, much wider audience. Shall we taste one more?
Yes, please do. I haven't actually got any of the Anglesey Mon left, but I've had it plenty of times. I know what it tastes like.
Fresh.
So this is from one of the craft distillers. It's a bit harder to get hold of than your kind of ones you find in the supermarket. I just wanted you to try it. Very light spirit. This, I would say, is the most approachable. It's right down there on the ABV as well. It's 40%. So if you're a strong whiskey drinker, it might be a bit too subtle for you. But for me, I think nice. I do. I think it's lovely. I think it's got lots of vanilla-y notes. It's ex-bourbon, first fill casks. And it's done super small scale. And the gentleman that owns the distillery owns a water company as well, and he actually has a spring on site. It's originally would have been a glacial spring. It's the spring is millions of years old, when the island of Anglesey would have had a big glacier on it, and the water's so soft, and it's so like the calcium levels are so high in it. I find it's an amazing whiskey for like the creaminess, and it's quite a young whiskey, non-age statement, but no chill filtering, no caramel colour, anything like that, and it's just a nice approachable whiskey, and from one of these very small craft distillers. They only do sort of one barrel every 6 months at the most, so it's very small scale, but it's a great whiskey to try.
I feel privileged. Thank you. I feel privileged.
No problem.
Tell me something. Your podcast. I'm curious. Who have been the great interviewees? Who have you spoken to? And you thought that's why I do a podcast.
I mean, I like talking to the people that I talk to in the industry day to day, because we just have a chat and it's very relaxed. And Richard Edwards, the Penderyn Distillery manager now, was the brand rep at the time. Had a good chat with him. I always talk to Rich anyway. I've spoke to a few other sort of random people in the industry with a very vague, I would say, link to Welsh whiskey, but it's always nice to speak to people Dan Humphreys from Somerton Whisky Club's always fun to chat to. But more than anything, I think for me it was the journey of travelling. I've done, I'd say, sort of 95% of the distillery interviews at the distillery. So to be shown around the distillery, to meet the people, to see the premise, to taste the spirit, that's been fantastically enjoyable. And to get that kind of behind the scenes look at these distilleries that aren't open to the public always, or very limited access, has been great. I did do one Welsh episode, which I was kind of personally quite proud of. I'm a second language fi yn siarad Cymraeg, so I do speak Welsh. But I'm from South Wales, so it's not first language in South Wales. Where I am in the north, it is definitely first language. So I did struggle to do that episode. But I was with a very patient man. The gentleman that actually makes that Anglesey Mon whiskey, David Thomas, and he is first language Welsh, so he talked me through it, and we there was a good few cuts and takes, but we managed to get a good episode all in Welsh. So I'm quite proud of that, not being a Welsh speaker natively as well. Kind of it from South Wales. So yeah, but it's been great. We're coming to 30 episodes now, 3 years. We do sort of 10 episodes a season, and I'm probably just going to do special episodes now after this. I've kind of already sort of said to people that'll be it for the kind of regular monthly shows, and I'll just do a sort of specials as and when. But I've really enjoyed the process and spoke to some great people.
Because the world of whiskey is just this myriad of different streams, isn't it?
It is.
You've got 100 different topics. You've got international trade. You've got how you make your whiskies. There's so much you can talk about. And there you are in Wales trying to sell the message of Welsh whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we'll go into this in a bit, but it's allowed me to do some other things. The Welsh Whisky Society, I'm very proud of, and Wales Whisky Fest as well. So, that's been a great kind of advertising platform, and to create something that wasn't there before, I'm very proud of as well.
Well, tell me about them. I was going to talk to you about them. That you've set up the festival. Tell me about the association and the festival, because that's you, isn't it?
It is. So Wales Whisky Fest was it was actually the brainchild of my partner Charlotte. Anyone who's kind of met me distillery tours or anything like that, they'll probably have met Charlotte as well. And she said, look, there isn't a whiskey festival in Wales. So to date, Wales Whisky Fest is the only whiskey festival in Wales. I know there are plans for one of the big kind of franchise type festivals to do one in South Wales, but as of 2025, second year going into the festival, it's the only whiskey festival in Wales. Unlike my good friend Richard Foster at English Whiskey, it's not a Welsh Whisky Festival. It is a whiskey festival in Wales. Obviously, we have lots of Welsh whiskey there, of course. But I love whiskey of all types. So we have lots of Scotch, Irish, world brands, try and make it different each year, invite different exhibitors, people that wouldn't necessarily come to Wales as well on the exhibitors. Sorry, I've just lost a headphone there. I'll keep that one in. And it's been great to organise that and bring people to the area as well, to North Wales, to Llandudno, that wouldn't necessarily come there, and experience a bit of Welsh hospitality and have some great drams as well. So I started the Welsh Whisky Society with two other colleagues that approached me. Nathan Parkmore, who's the whiskey speaker, he's kind of an independent brand rep and has got a bit of a passion for Welsh whiskey. And Sean Swan, who owns an independent whiskey bottler company, like a bit of a sideline. And they said, look, you know, why isn't there a Welsh Whisky Society or club or some kind of association? And it kind of went from there. And we launched at the festival last year. We're coming up to about 100 members now, so it's very early days, but it's been well received. And it's not like the Scotch Malt Whisky Association. You know, we're not looking to kind of change the industry or control the industry. It's very much a club for Welsh whisky enthusiasts to come together and link the distilleries that they normally wouldn't, you know, have access to or not necessarily know about with the consumer. And it's been really great, and I'm really proud of it. We're launching National Welsh Whisky Day on the 22nd of September, which is sort of under the club's umbrella, and there wasn't a national or international celebration for Welsh whisky, so that's been kind of well received now as well. And yeah, it's hopefully, you know, go from strength to strength and just give everyone a platform between the festival and the society where the consumers and you know, the bottlers and the distilleries can kind of all meet each other and enjoy what each other has to offer.
Sean, thank you so much. I mean, we could have talked all day about Welsh whisky and Wales, and yeah, I'm so glad we got you, that we can chat about. I love Wales. I mean, I just, from getting beaten up in Cardiff to visiting the place, I just love it. And so many of my colleagues I played rugby with and against were Welsh men. And I liked them as people. I know it sounds strange, but you can get a feel for how people think about their country. And Welsh people are incredibly proud. Incredibly proud. You know, if you're watching this in America and you think of Wales being this little country, well, it's Scotland. It's the same thing. People are incredibly proud. So thank you so much for talking to me.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
We're never going home. We're never going home. Can we stay with you in Scotland for the rest of our lives? We're never going home. Never going home. All it took was one sip of the water of life.